Master of Ceremony, colleague heads, my dear cricketing friend, and that's a private joke between us, the Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell, my dear colleague Victor Banks, Honorable Victor Banks, distinguished ministers from the Caribbean region, and I adopt the remaining order of precedence. Good morning. I'm very pleased to welcome my colleague prime ministers, or prime minister for that matter, and premier to this very important conference. I'm also pleased to welcome the representatives of several CARICOM countries to Antigua to participate in a conference that looks exclusively to the future. My government welcomes this initiative, which sets out to bring into greater focus the information and communication technology, the ICT needs of our Caribbean governments. All CARICOM leaders recognize and pay attention to the role that ICTs can play in our respective public administrations. Yet, we are aware that there are limitations that must be overcome by our states and peoples. In fact, we are now operating at a turning point, an inflection point, one in which ICTs permeate every aspect of our development, and one in which most countries are now moving towards the creation of smart cities. And with ICTs come increased competition. Competition has become global with the advancement of ICTs. The world has been transformed into a global village, as everyone acknowledges. Competition that was once global has become, or that was once local has become global. This competition is increasingly present in all spheres of life, and some aspects of it are for the better. In fact, I'll say most aspects of it is for the better. ICT evidently is important for any advancing economy. In fact, if our countries fail to adopt ICTs in an aggressive way, clearly, our countries become shrinking, successful institutions. And that may sound like an oxymoron, but we actually have that phenomenon here in Antigua. We have a particular political institution that is shrunken, but yet it considers itself to be the most successful political institution on the island. And I believe there's also one in Grenada. So the point I'm making here, though, is that ICT is the lifeblood of any economy. And as indicated by the Secretary General, there is a need for us as leaders to embrace ICTs and to invest in ICTs. That is the only way we'll be able to maintain our competitive advantage and to grow and to advance the living standards of our people. Now, there are many ways in which ICTs have been utilized for the advancement of our people. So, for example, laparoscopic surgery can be directed remotely from New York while the patient remains here in Antigua. And more, our countries are moving towards remote surgery. In fact, in Antigua and Barbuda, we're about to adopt technology in which we can actually send medication by drone to our sister island, Barbuda. And that is the level of advancement that is taking place so that we can utilize ICTs to provide better public service. Yet ICTs have also led to major disruption across industries. In the retail business, consumers can engage and acquire goods from various suppliers, excluding the traditional middleman, the store owner. Now, since many of our economies thrive on retail trade, the exclusion of the customary importer can significantly alter the balance that had seemingly been established over many years. And the truth is, many of those middlemen are now out of business because they did not grow with the technology, and they would have been displaced as a result of the advancement in ICTs. Although there are systems of ground transportation, taxis and buses that have been well established in many states, there is the phenomenon of several companies like Uber and Lyft that have become major disruptors to existing land-based transportation systems. And this is especially threatening to taxi operators. In the case of Antigua and Barbuda, we have chosen to take the position to protect our taxi operators, because clearly, if we were to operate a Uber system here, many of our taxi operators will be displaced. But we do not know how much longer we can continue to protect them. And this is one of the areas in which ICT clearly would be disruptive and could create problems for our people. But there are opportunities, and overall, ICTs are empowering, and that is unquestionable. So, for example, one of the opportunities that exists today is in Airbnb. Airbnb has been challenging the traditional leisure and tourism sector. By operating an entirely integrated system, from bookings to taxi pickup to airline transport to taxi delivery, then to hotel, all the sectors that used to perform individual services are subsumed within the Airbnb system. And this in itself represents an opportunity for us to utilize this service to broaden the participation and ownership in the tourism sector within our respective countries. In fact, here in Antigua and Barbuda, we're about to develop 16 acres of beach property to provide small lots, perhaps about half an acre each, to Antiguans and Barbudans to develop small properties, to promote them to owners, and to ensure that they have a greater stake in the tourism sector. Within the region, the sector is dominated primarily by foreign capital, and in many instances, we have abusive operators who, in essence, seek to control all of the benefits of the sector. We want to make sure that our people could participate meaningfully and to be owners of our tourism sector, and certainly Airbnb provides that opportunity. We've also witnessed the emergence of cryptocurrencies that may begin to challenge the traditional banking sector, and that certainly will happen very soon. In fact, it is happening already, because you'd see that there has been an increased amount of trades taking place in Bitcoin. The value of Bitcoin would have increased exponentially, and I'm pretty sure that this has the capacity to displace the traditional banking system. Although many banks are now investing in cryptocurrencies, or at least the technology, blockchain technology, in order to someday perhaps get involved in cryptocurrencies. Now, the CARICAD is studying this subject, and I'm hoping that they will very soon provide some very meaningful recommendations to the region, because the region is now bombarded by investors who are seeking to get involved in the creation of these cryptocurrencies. It is customary for Antigua and Barbuda to take a plunge into systems that may generate jobs and opportunities for our residents and citizens. In 1952, the legislature adopted the Hotels Aid Ordinance Act. It was followed by the Aid to Pioneer Industries Act. And by 1982, we introduced the International Business Corporations Act, which plunged us into the offshore financial services sector. So we are normally first movers. And certainly in the case of cryptocurrencies, we are in the process of developing legislation so that we can get involved in this very creative sector, one that really promises to displace the traditional banking sector. But clearly, we need continued technical support, and we're hoping that CARICAD will continue to study this very important technology involving cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, so that they can provide assistance not only to Antigua and Barbuda, but to other countries within the region. Since governments stand as the largest player in our many Caribbean island economies, providing many services to our populations, we recognize that a future not fully understood is on our doorsteps. Central governments recognize that it is better for us to recognize that our operations will be subject to disruption and/or change in consumer expectations, and that we must adjust if we are to survive. In fact, it is quintessential that we do so. Your presence in Antigua today is testimony to our unending determination to meet the future head-on and to move to ready our countries and leadership to fully fathom this future. The Caribbean Telecommunications Union, or its union's focus on the 21st century government, starting with the summit, is therefore timely and welcomed. My government fully supports this initiative, as is evident by the work already being undertaken through the Ministry of Information, Broadcasting, Telecommunications, and Information Technology here in Antigua and Barbuda, led by our distinguished Minister, the Honorable Melford Nicholas. Over the past 3.5 years, Antigua and Barbuda has invested in the automation of a number of processes within the public sector. They include our border control and visa application systems, the automation of our Customs and Excise Department with the implementation of the Executor World System, and digitization and automation of our business registries, both onshore and offshore. The automation of our land registry and its soon-to-be amalgamation with our property valuation system will carry us forward into this 21st century, and that is the objective that we are all seeking to achieve. Yet there is so much more that has to be undertaken, and clearly this is a continuum because, as you know, technology becomes obsolete very fast or very quickly. So we have to continue to be in touch with the technology and to upgrade accordingly, not just to make an intervention today and not to keep abreast with the pace of development in technology. Antigua and Barbuda has also invested in the automation of our driver's license renewal program. This new methodology has saved our licensed drivers time and money. Within the Royal Police of Antigua and Barbuda, the digitization of our Criminal Records Office will be of tremendous benefits to many who wish to travel to countries requiring visas. Those states often require evidence of an absence of criminal record. Elsewhere, we are also investing in an updated ICT technology platform, which would see the implementation of a government-wide area network capable of moving and securing information upwards, downwards, and across all of the respective departments of government. Colleagues, despite all these changes and expectations of a manifold yield, more has to be done and a better understanding garnered. The changes still require are not just to achieve operational efficiency and effectiveness. The changes are expected to produce quality and timeliness of action or actionable information. The CTU conference will assist largely in moving these ambitions along. For the entire CTU member states and territories, our future will be a journey with many steps. Our future requires us today to take steps that are definitely current and definitively current, and I dare to say most urgent. Antigua and Barbuda therefore reiterates and endorses this initiative, and I encourage all of my colleagues to avail themselves of the guidance and support of the CTU. It is ably led by our distinguished Secretary General, Bernadette Lewis, and its president is none other than our distinguished Minister, the Honorable Melford Nicholas. I take this opportunity to thank the organizers for this very important conference as we seek to ensure that our governments in the Caribbean remain relevant, to ensure that our governments remain competitive. In fact, ICT is the lifeblood of any advancing economy. And as we seek to advance the living standards of our people, let us all embrace the new technologies. Let us all commit to investing in the new technologies in order to advance our respective countries. I thank you.